So I'm going to make some homemade oatmeal cookies, and it calls for an egg and some butter. So to get my egg room temperature, I put some hot tap water in a cup and I put it in there. It's not gonna hurt it. And if you're in a hurry, whenever you're making something and you need something room temperature, that's all you have to do to your eggs. My butter, however, I have got those on defrost in the microwave. I'm not gonna let it melt. I'm gonna get it really soft because I need to cream the eggs, sugar, and butter together in this recipe. I've got all my ingredients out. I'm going to divvy it up, and then I'll be back and I will let you know everything that's in them. Okay, I think I have all my ingredients out. It calls for 3 cups of oats, not instant oats, rolled oats. It calls for 1 cup of flour. And it calls for 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, which I have all in here. They're all dry ingredients. All the dry ingredients need to be mixed together before they're put with the wet ingredients. And then I have my unsalted butter, and I use Kerrygold. It's the best kind of butter, especially for baking. But I'm gonna put the butter in my mixing bowl. And I just put it in the microwave on defrost for about 20 seconds, maybe 30, but it goes in intervals. And I got my egg out of the water, and it's at room temperature. You want to use all your butter. Okay, in a medium bowl, you're going to whisk together all your dry ingredients. That's what I got this for. So I'm going to put my oatmeal. I'm going to put my flour. I'm going to put my salt, my baking powder, my cornstarch, and my cinnamon. The cornstarch makes your cookies chewier and helps them not to dry out. So it calls for 1 teaspoon, and I used 1/2 teaspoon because I don't like mine real chewy. I don't want them falling apart, and that's happened to me. Greg loves them, but it feels like they're not cooked. So I'm gonna throw those in here. I'm gonna put my brown sugar. No, I'm not putting the brown sugar in there. I've got all my dry ingredients. I've got my oats, my flour, my salt, my baking powder, my cornstarch, and my cinnamon all in here, and I'm gonna whisk that together. I have my baking sheets lined with parchment paper. And if you're like me and you have a hard time keeping your parchment paper on your baking sheets, you can wet the bottom of your baking sheet, take a paper towel, and slide the water around, and then lay your parchment paper on top, and it will stick to your baking dish, so you don't have to worry about it flopping around. Just mixed it up. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to start my butter. I'm gonna put it on low. And I'm gonna fluff that. I'm gonna cream my butter first. Get it kind of creamy. I'm putting some pecans in mine. The recipe says it's optional. You can use walnuts or pecans. We like pecans. Some people call them pecans. matter what you call them. I have 1 tablespoon of vanilla, and yes, I'm saying a whole tablespoon of vanilla extract. It's not going to hurt. I have 1/4 cup, 4 tablespoons of molasses. I use Grandma's molasses. This is what's going to work best. It's not going to be bitter. It's going to be good. And if you want, you can take Baker's Joy or whatever you use as far as oils or grease, and you can spray this in your tablespoon, and then you can put your molasses in it, and when you go to take your molasses out of your tablespoon or even out of your bowl, I sprayed my bowl with it, and it will slide right out of there. None of it will stay in there, and that helps a lot. So 1/4 cup of molasses. I'm going to repeat this for y'all. 3 cups of oats, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1½ teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1½ teaspoons of cornstarch. No, that's 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. I use a half. 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 cup of unsalted butter, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of molasses, 1 large egg, 1½ cups of raisins. I use 2 cups of raisins. I'm using 1 cup of pecans, 1 tablespoon of vanilla, and that's all the ingredients. I'm going to cream my butter, and then I'm going to, I've made these 100 times. I'm going to cream my butter, I'm going to add my brown sugar. Brown sugar, and you pack this brown sugar in there. Pack it. Whoops. Usually if I add it while it's mixing, it'll go everywhere, which I'm sure y'all will see that. I'm good at it. I don't know why this thing keeps coming off. Those are fine. I'm going to cream my brown sugar and my butter for a minute, and then I'm going to add my egg, my vanilla, and my molasses. Go ahead and pop this egg. I'm using White Lily all-purpose flour because it is the best. But you can use whatever you want. want to stop and scrape it down if you use an electric mixing bowl, which to me makes it so much simpler. But I used to use a mixer, a hand mixer, and it worked too. I'm gonna let this mix for about 2 minutes. Whenever you put your dry ingredients in, do not let it mix too long because the gluten will release and it will make your cookies hard. And I've done that before. And I like the hard cookies, but nobody else did. I'm gonna use this ice cream scoop to scoop out my cookies, but it's gonna have to be big scoops, that is. I wish I had a larger one. And then I'm going to take a heavy bottom cup and I'm gonna press them down. I'm gonna spray it before I do that though. But let me get this done. Stop and scrape this every now and then so that it all gets mixed in really well, because for some reason it just does this. I'm using sun-made raisins. Some people put these in water and let them soak 10 minutes prior, and when they take them out of the water, they blot them dry. I don't do that. I like them just like they are. I don't know if it's the type of raisins you use, but they're just as juicy or moist as they can be to me. Now I'm going to put in my egg. My vanilla, and my molasses. Comes out so much better whenever you grease your bowl or your spoon or bowl. Because I used a tablespoon measure to put it in here. 4 tablespoons, which is a fourth of a cup. dry ingredients in, it will get it all out. It will all mix in because it'll be full. Let me try this again. I don't know why it does that. I have no idea why. The money you pay for them shouldn't do it. I'll let that mix a little while. Does it say how long? It doesn't. It just says still combined. If I keep doing that, it's gonna come back off. Then gradually I'm going to add my dry ingredients to my butter and my brown sugar, molasses, and vanilla. It doesn't say that though. And I gotta be careful or I'll sling it everywhere. Like I said, you can't let it mix long because it'll cause your cookies to be hard. And I got my raisins and I've got my pecans. Usually when I get up on Saturday mornings, I make biscuits and maple syrup butter, but I don't have any bacon. Maple syrup bacon, yeah, and biscuits, but I don't have any bacon today. I might have some tomorrow though, and if I do, I will make a video on that, because that bacon is so good. Okay. I don't like to waste anything. I want every drop of it. I'm gonna give this a little mix mix with my hand to make sure everything's combined. If you have one of these mixers and it doesn't mix everything on the very bottom, you can take this off and there's a screw in there and you can tighten it, and that will cause it to go all the way to the bottom of your bowl. On a KitchenAid anyways, I do know that. And you can Google it. Google is my second husband. I will Google anything I don't know. Doing that knife. Now I'm gonna fold my raisins in. And this is a very sticky cookie dough. I'm gonna put my pecans in. Which those are optional. You probably don't have to use raisins if you don't like raisins. The oatmeal cookies are my favorite, and along with everybody in my house. I'll be right back. Okay, got my mess cleaned up, and I'm going to, like I said, I wet my parchment paper, and as you can see, it's laying flat. There's supposed to be 1/4 cup per scoop. And sometimes I use a little measuring cup. It's 1/4 cup. But I think this will work. I sprayed it with Baker's Joy. They usually don't spread a lot at all. They just bake. I'm going to take a cup that I've already sprayed, like I said, and smash them a little bit. My hands are clean. I just washed all the dishes that I have dirty. This sometimes makes like 23 to 25 cookies. It just depends on how I scoop them out, because it's different every time for me. One day I'll find a good cookie scoop, but the cookie scoop I've got is just entirely too small. And I don't like rolling them out because it sticks to your hands real bad. You can roll them out. Sometimes I put on gloves and do that. But like I said, it's a sticky dough. one tray. They might be too big, but I don't know. We'll eat them. I don't care. It's too big. But 1/4 cup, it says. This ain't gonna be as many because they're so big. Let's see how they turn out. Alabama won. And it didn't look like a challenge to me. They said it was going to be a challenge to beat them, and I didn't see that. Small cookie. No, better not. I'm going to add it. Some to that one. And some to this one. I'd like to taste this. I'm tempted, but it's got egg in it. So. I have sprayed my cup on the bottom with Baker's Joy. And I'm going to smash them down a little bit. Because they really don't spread out as you're cooking them. I should spray it again. I guess that's only because they have only 1 cup of flour in it, and that's not a lot of flour. This is the least amount I've ever made. Usually they're smaller. Real big. Start my oven over because it's been running. And I will rotate them probably like 5 minutes in. I just got stuff on my stove. I'll show them to you. I just took them out after 14 minutes and they are big. These are real big. What I'll have to do is when they cool a little bit, I'll take my spatula and I'll just, well, I'll do it now. This is the first time I've ever spread like this. These are good. And what I'll do is I'll let them cool for 5 minutes like this. And then I will take the parchment paper off. I'm gonna set them over on my stove right now where the grapes are so air will circulate under them. I'm gonna set them on my stove. I think you can see it there. And once they cool, I will take them out off of that and I will put them in an airtight container depending on the consistency of them. I usually put them in a big plastic bowl with the lid on them. Sometimes I put them in a big Ziploc baggie. But if you want the recipe, I'll be glad to give it to you. I let these cool for 5 minutes and then I transferred them to a wire rack so that they can cool from underneath too. It just seems to work better that way. And it's easy just to drag it right off of the tray onto the rack. And you can see what I did with the big ones. I took a spatula and I went in between them and made it to where whenever I get them out, they'll just pick right up. And that's good for each other. Thanks. Have a good day.